Pokemon was probably one of the most important video games I ever played. And I don't think I have to explain why that is. I've done Pokemon months before, I've done blind walkthroughs, which a lot of you have probably looked at. I've been in Pokemon Pals. So obviously I am a fan. It was a big deal. I mean, God, there was just so many ways that I played Pokemon in one fashion or another, because it was a monster. I mean, there was the card game that you better believe I played. There was the video game, which I obviously played. There was the TV show, which I watched before it was on Kids WB. God, I was probably a little obsessed with Pokemon for, let's be serious, I've been obsessed with Pokemon for a long time. I remember playing the game in a way where I was rushing way too fast, which is ironic because I remember someone playing the game at our lunch table in middle school and having like a Venusaur at level 40 at like Mountain Moon, which sounded weird to me, but then I went on and played it anyway like that. And I chose to have my favorite Pokemon from each individual area, but I didn't really get more than like 6 or 7, so I had a weird team of like Charmander, who wasn't evolved, Rattata, which eventually evolved into Eradicate. I used Super Fang all over the place. Raichu, which actually, no, it was a Pikachu. It was definitely a Pikachu that I think I evolved at the very end, because Pikachu's almost worthless if you don't evolve it. Sorry. A Golem, because I really liked Golems. Still do. A Clefairy that for some reason I had for a while, and eventually I switched it out for a Machoke or a Machamp. And a Beedrill. I don't know why I went to the Elite Four with a Beedrill, and I think at a certain point on Victory Road I just decided that I was playing this the wrong way and I had to go back and catch more Pokemon and just enjoy the game more. So I started off with a Bulbasaur, which eventually evolved into Ivysaur, obviously, and had a more balanced team from there. I think I had things like Venusaur and Alakazam and Poliwrath and Nidoking. These were some of my favorite Pokemon as a kid. Now, there was actually a sort of competition that still tours around the country to this day. We can go to like a mall or something and play Pokemon with a bunch of other kids. And me and my brother, my middle brother, we actually did that one year because we lived next to one of the sites, or close enough to it. And he was training at the level, like, at level 50 to 55. And I was training for some weird 15 to 20 level cup. And I actually had to train his Pokemon because he wasn't able to do it fast enough. I just have weird memories of like training a Dragonair on Cinnabar Island while sitting at my local YMCA and waiting to be picked up or something. I just have a weird memory of that. So he went to the competition with like a Dragonite and a Vaporeon and a couple other things, and he didn't really do all that well because he was probably too young for that sort of competition. And I beat the first guy, which was cool. I think you had to beat 2 in order to move on. I beat the first guy, and then the second guy came in as a smart, intelligent person with a Lapras, which I thought was cheating. Obviously it wasn't, but I was like, hey, that's level 1, this is bullcrap. You gotta do it the way I was doing it. He just kicked my ass using the Lapras and Ice Beam at level 20 and just wiped out I think I had like a Pidgeotto, Ivysaur, and something else, and it was nasty. Got my butt kicked. So I was probably a little old for the Pokemon series at the time. I was 12, which I'm sure some of you guys out there are playing this at 12 and 18 and 20 or whatever. But at the time, and looking back, I was probably a little too old for it. But I really enjoyed it, and I actually with my brother would, I don't know what you would call it, but we would sort of make our own Pokemon game based around Pokemon that was there and a world map, the original one, and new Pokemon that I made up. I think I actually had like a new fire flying type, which God knows we have enough of those as it is. And actually I had like an eel that was electric water, which eventually evolved into something else that I thought was cool. I don't remember some of the other original ones I had, but it was me, my brother, and my neighbor kid. I would run the game, and my brother, the neighbor kid, would play it, and they'd roll dice to see if if the attacks hit and how effective they were, and they could combine moves to make up new moves, which reflected what we had seen in the Pokemon TV series, because sometimes they fudge a little bit on the moves, but I was definitely a big Pokemon guy. And also back in the day, I would actually go down to our local Borders, which is closed now, just like all the other Borders, and I would play the card game with other fans of the series. This was the original base set, which... No, it wasn't the original base set. It was the base set and a couple of the original expansions before Silver and Gold came out. Because I remember buying a lot of Fossil at that time. Borders had these things where you could come in and play the game with other people, because not only did it get people into the store, but people would buy booster packs and things like that. It was just a lot of fun. I remember going in with different decks and playing against people. And if you won, you got a certain amount of points. If you lost, you still got some. But if you won, you got a lot of points. And eventually, you could turn those points in to actually get a gym badge pin. So it looked pretty cool, and I think I still have it somewhere. I don't know where it is, but I had the Boulder badge and probably the Cascade badge, and that was a pretty cool little thing to be able to be like, hey, look at this. I never wore it or anything like that, but oh man, I think I dressed up as Ash once. I totally should have worn those things. It was a really cool time to be a fan of Pokemon back when they originally came out. I'm still a fan to this day, but obviously I'll never be that young again. I'll never be that into it. So, yeah, I don't think I have to explain to you guys how big Pokemon was and how big it continues to be to this day.